So Leeds United, in terms of Daniel Farke, now obviously as soon as they were promoted back to the Premier League after a couple of seasons away, obviously it was confirmed that there was so much interest about what's going to happen on his front, on Daniel Farke's sort of future tenure, because so many Leeds fans themselves said, thanks for the job, you've done a great job, but now it's time to move on just because of his history with relegations. Now obviously Norwich City, relegations are tight budget. He couldn't keep them in the Premier League, and they were pretty abysmal under him in terms of the top flight football action. There's going to be so many resources that they need to use at Leeds, which are better suited than Norwich City's were a few years ago. And you have to look at how much has changed in that time as well. It's quite a long time ago as well, since Daniel Farke spelled at Norwich during those relegation campaigns. So a lot to look ahead to. In terms of Daniel Farke, he must learn from Norwich's relegations. I think that's pretty clear. I'm sure he'll be the first to tell you that as well. The expectations will be obviously with limited investment, they have to rise, they have to break that barrier and try and remain in the Premier League. Dan, our Leeds correspondent. Dan, what are your thoughts on Daniel Farke? How much has changed since he did get relegated with Norwich? Obviously an incredible season with Leeds United. Surely they can bring that momentum into the Premier League and hopefully break the barrier of the last two seasons with all promoted clubs being relegated, and Leeds United will be looking to remain in the top flight.
For Leeds United, Charles, I think Daniel Farke, of course, has spoken a lot, actually, about his time that he had at Norwich, of course, the relegations he had there when he'd got them up to the Premier League. He's made quite clear that he didn't have the backing he would have liked at Carrow Road, and that's partially to do, or part of the main reason as to why he wasn't able to keep Norwich in the Premier League. And you'd have to say, well, so far at least, he's been promised the backing at Leeds United to at least have a better attempt at it. Some, of course, there will always be doubters, and there has been so far that, yes, he's got those relegations on his CV, so can he be the man trusted to keep Leeds in the Premier League? And people, naturally have their doubts about this because of his previous experiences at Carrow Road. But, as he makes clear, the backing he didn't have there. So he's relying on the backing he's going to get from Leeds United this summer, and then he will have to put that into action as well and make clear and make it quite apparent and quite clear that when he's had backing, he actually is capable of doing the job at Leeds United that he wasn't able to do at Carrow Road. Certainly, they've made a good start to the window by bringing in Felix Lemaitre from Borussia Dortmund. Certainly someone who's had experience of the Bundesliga, experience of the Champions League as well, coming into a Premier League side in Leeds who are looking to build, obviously, not just be the one surviving, but perhaps build as well. Leeds need to be a club who has that ambition as well, because I think if you just go in there aiming to survive, you're going to find it quite tricky. You need to be ambitious in the Premier League and, of course, spend money. But, of course, then that in itself is an issue because spending money becomes difficult because of PSR constraints. But Leeds' board have made very clear that they will spend up to their PSR constraints this summer to try and make sure they've got enough depth and enough quality to get themselves into a safe enough position come the end of the upcoming Premier League season. Of course, the fixtures are to come this week as well. But I think with Daniel Farke, it is sort of a pride thing a little bit, because he's sort of stated this fact that the reason he didn't stay up with Norwich is because of the lack of backing he had, and so now he's got to make sure that he actually proves that point. And so if Leeds do give him the support in the transfer window, actually make clear that he's able to do it. Otherwise, if we get to say October, November, December and Leeds are languishing towards the bottom, I think he will be out of the door quite fast. So he's got to get off to a good start. Obviously, players need time to bed in, so he's got to get his business done relatively early in the transfer market to make sure that the players have time to gel into the system he's trying to create at Leeds United. But certainly with the players he's got and had from last season, he's starting with a good foundation. He just needs to make sure he adds quality to that in as many departments as possible. Of course, strikers, I think, is key. Looking at Joe Perreault, your only real striker, and Patrick Bamford with a lot of injuries, they need to probably add more in that department. And obviously Lemaitre could be someone who perhaps not as an out-and-out striker, but could help in the goal-scoring department